Welcome back to Whitney Alex Works recap of The Bachelor Season 26, Episode 7. In this episode, Clayton gets down to business as he narrows his love interest down from 9 women to the top 4, but not without some questionable choices. Let's dive into this episode. We left the last episode on another to be continued, with Sarah receiving a rose after her second one-on-one date with Clayton, and with her ready to confront the person who told Clayton that she wasn't ready for marriage because of her age. She heads back in and addresses the women, saying that someone tried to sabotage her relationship with Clayton, but in the end they ended up stronger. The women are kind of taken aback, but Mara admits it was her, saying that she said what she said because she hasn't gotten a one-on-one date and didn't think Sarah was ready. But Sarah has her rose and she walks away knowing she has a big target on her back. So the 9 remaining women are getting ready for the 6th rose ceremony, with the women realizing that the roses are getting more scarce. Clayton comes in and addresses the women, saying that he is excited to continue to build relationships, knowing that hometowns are around the corner and meeting families are a big deal. He then asks to speak to Serene, and the two head to a couch where Clayton has a present for her. He gives her a bottle of fireflies as an ode to the story she told back in their Houston date back in episode 5. And Serene is touched and they kiss, and she tells the camera that she is falling for Clayton. Then we see Clayton connecting with Susie and they share a kiss, and then Clayton also connects with Teddy as well as Rachel. But we interrupt Clayton's montage of love to bring you more drama. Mara wants to talk to Sarah and they head outside, where I swear I thought these two were going to come to blows. But Mara says that she wants to address the comment Sarah made last night, saying that Mara was making a last-ditch effort to secure a rose. And they squabble for some time about it, with neither of them backing down, and all the other women are crowding by the curtains to overhear them. But what was interesting is that Rachel backs up Mara in a confessional, saying that Mara was speaking her truth about Sarah being too cocky about her having it in the bag with Clayton. Well, the 6th rose ceremony is finally here, and as a reminder, Teddy, Rachel, and Sarah are safe from elimination. Clayton calls out the following women in order, securing them another week. He calls Susie first, and then Serene. Next is Gabby, and then the last rose goes to Genevieve, which means marketing manager as well as a Disney princess Eliza and entrepreneur Mara are both heading home. 7 women remain. And with the final 7 women, Clayton says they are headed to Vienna, Austria, their last stop before hometowns. The 7 remaining women get settled into Vienna, Austria, and the women know that getting a rose this week means introducing Clayton to their families. All the women are anxious to get a one-on-one date, but the first date card goes to wedding photographer Susie. Susie heads out with Clayton to spend the whole day together. They ride around the city of Vienna in a car and share some kisses. Clayton believes love is in the air as they walk around Vienna looking at the beautiful architecture. And they stop at a clothing store where Susie gets to shop till she drops. And Susie is pretty humble throughout the process, as she says she's extremely grateful for this experience, even saying that she feels like she is in a movie, which I think is the point. She tries on beautiful dresses, and Clayton says he saw so many sides of Susie, which just means he thinks she is beautiful no matter what. And Susie is tearful as she is so happy and so grateful that she got the infamous shopping spree date on this series. As usual with the shopping spree date in this franchise, the woman on it returns with a handful of shopping bags to make the other women pretty jealous, intentional or not, and the other women are pretty jealous, but they do their best to support Susie as she gets ready to meet Clayton later in the night. Susie, dressed in red, heads out and meets up with Clayton, where they head inside a breathtaking palace where Susie feels like a princess, and they share picturesque kisses as they eventually sit down to talk. Clayton shares that he likes how humble Susie is, and Susie says that her humbleness came from how she was raised, and she really hopes she could introduce Clayton to her family, especially her father, who she shared back in episode 2 that her father almost passed away recently, but he was able to pull through. Clayton then gives Susie the rose, giving her the first hometown spot, and they share a kiss. They then head to a room where they are serenaded and they slow dance and share more romantic moments together. The next date is a group date with everyone on it but Serene and Susie. It's a 5-to-1 ratio, with each woman having a 20% chance of securing the rose and also securing that hometown spot. The group date is ominously signed by Sigmund Freud, which leads into what the 5 women will be doing for the day. They are greeted by a psychoanalyst, where the group date is going to be a couples therapy date, which honestly, I don't think the women signed up for dates like this, but Clayton says that because hometowns are around the corner, he wants to dive deep. Well, of course the women are rightly nervous, and we see the women head in one by one with Clayton to share how they feel about the relationship and how they ultimately feel inside. We see Gabby go first, and she shares more about her concerns about her family life, and then Teddy goes next, where she shares that she feels open to a relationship with Clayton, and they even share a quick kiss. Then Genevieve is next, and she admits she is nervous because she doesn't like sharing emotions and opening up, and the psychoanalyst questions Genevieve's walls and whether or not she can allow Clayton in, and Genevieve doesn't know what to feel. Then Clayton says he wants to speak to her privately, and he says that because of her walls and how they haven't progressed, he is going to send her home. He then walks Genevieve out, and with that, now only 6 women remain all of a sudden. Clayton comes back and tells the women that he sent home Genevieve and is taking this very seriously. With that bombshell, Rachel is next to head into couples therapy, where Rachel reveals her insecurities about falling in love, saying that she is questioning her relationship, and Clayton does not like this, knowing that Rachel and him have a very strong connection. But interestingly enough, this insecurity the women feel has to do with Sarah, and how Sarah apparently is overconfident about her relationship with Clayton. And with the women turning on Sarah, Sarah of course is next to go into couples therapy, but Sarah is excited because she loves therapy and goes into the session happy and tells the psychoanalyst that she trusts Clayton. Well, that's that with couples therapy. Honestly, not my choice of a fun group date. And with the 4 women standing there, the psychoanalyst says that she was happy the women opened up, but then immediately throws a curveball and says she thought some of the women were performative, which honestly could or could not have been ultimately true, but Clayton takes things at face value and now wants to find out who was being fake during couples therapy. Well, with 4 women invited to the after party, Clayton begins the night portion by basically asking the women to tell him who they thought was the performative person in the room, because apparently he can't figure it out himself. He wants to talk to Rachel first to hear what she has to say. Clayton immediately says he doesn't believe that Rachel was being performative, and then Rachel says that it was actually Sarah who apparently was cocky the whole season after her first one-on-one date back in episode 3. And then she starts crying, saying that Sarah made her feel like she had no chance with Clayton. And then Gabby tells Clayton basically the same thing, and so does Teddy. And by the time Sarah is talking with Clayton, it feels like Sarah is going to be sent home just based on being performative. But honestly, it all felt like whiplash, as Clayton was so eager to stand by her last episode. But all of a sudden, Sarah is manipulative, and he says fake crying. She's fake crying. I mean, like, goodness gracious, you basically terrorized her last episode, saying that Mara called her overconfident. And it just seems like if Clayton wants to believe something, he will in order to advance in his own journey to find love. Well, after calling Sarah out for apparently fake crying and allegedly lying about them crying together, which could be rightly misinterpreted, he decides to send Sarah home, citing that he doesn't believe her anymore. And with that strange and honestly odd decision, there are now 5 women remaining. After sending Sarah home, Clayton comes back and informs Rachel, Teddy, and Gabby that he sent Sarah home, but says he cannot give out the group date rose because he needs some more time to make a decision. Well, honestly, that group date was horrendous and just terrible, and Clayton has completely gone full witch hunt before hometowns, all in the name of finding love, but his decisions seem sloppy and rash, and it just didn't sit right. But it's making more sense that ultimately this season might end up in flames at the end. Well, after that group date, we get to see a date with Clayton and Serene. Serene is concerned about Clayton after he sent home both Genevieve and Sarah on the last group date, and Clayton tells Serene that he appreciates her trust in him, and they head off to explore Vienna together. They ride a carriage cart around and eat some chestnuts and dance with other couples to an accordion player, all the while they are kissing and hugging and enjoying each other's company. Since the episode has only so much time left, Serene's storyline is rushed, but we still see her show up in style, dressed in red, maybe as a way to compete with Susie's red dress earlier in the episode. And Serene and Clayton sit down to talk, with Serene opening up to Clayton, saying that she doesn't date around a lot, citing that she had a serious relationship in her 20s that took up a lot of her earlier years. And this is a conversation that seemed true and honest, and I appreciated them for having it. And they talked to each other about feeling like they wasted their early 20s on relationships that they thought were going to last forever, but they ended up not working out and they grew apart. But in the end, these relationships did not work out. As both Serene and Clayton share, they may have felt like they should have explored more instead of having a committed relationship early on in their 20s. But they also determined that they shouldn't be bitter about so-called lost time with long-term relationships. Instead, they should learn from it and move forward, knowing that at the time it's what they wanted. Relationships and love is all a learning experience, and Serene then tells Clayton that she is falling in love with him. Clayton then gives the rose to Serene, securing her the second hometown spot. They end up kissing and looking at beautiful artwork before the date is over. Another rose ceremony is here, where Clayton has to choose his top 4. Susie and Serene have roses already, so his choices are between Rachel, Gabby, or Teddy. He calls out Rachel first, securing her the 3rd spot, and she accepts the rose, already seeming to be dressed in a white wedding dress. And the last rose goes to Gabby, securing her the 4th and final hometown spot, which means Teddy, a surgical unit nurse, and the first impression rose is sadly heading home. And now, after dating around 30 women, only 4 women remain in Clayton's journey to find love. Thank you for watching Whitney Alex Works recap of The Bachelor Season 26, Episode 7, Week 7. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to Whitney Alex Works for more videos in the future. See you soon for Hometowns.